Hello my lovelies, welcome back to my channel. This is your girl Angel from Simply Angel Tia. In this video I'm gonna show you guys how to crochet these shorts here. So these are just normal shorts, a little bit longer than booty shorts, but just good enough. I also do these little borders here in the bottom. But yeah, this is gonna be something simple to do for especially you guys who are beginners, but also nice looking for those of you who are advanced and want to make something simple but nice. So this is pretty much what we're going to be working on here. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, my lovelies, before we get started with the project, I'm going to show you the materials. So these are obviously the same stuff as I used for the vest. I'm just making the shorts that go with the vest. So this is the same yarn here. It's Azurite, 100% acrylic. Number of the color is 3040, but I call it blue. Recommended hook size is 3.5 to 4 millimeter crochet hook, and a skein like this is 50 grams or 140 meters. You're gonna need about 2 3/4 or 3 or 4 depending on your size. For the one I'm making, I ended up using 2 3/4 of the third skein. Okay, for crochet hook size I'm using the same as I used for the vest. It's 5 millimeter crochet hook or H8 US. I have some stitch markers here, a scissors, and a tape measure. Okay, I need a darning needle as well, so I have it somewhere. I just don't have it here to display with you, but you need a darning needle as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started here. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create the band for the shorts, and this is actually just the same as I always do, but I always come to show you guys just in case somebody's clicking on this video for the first time and they don't know my videos. So this is why I often repeat this part, but if you know me, you know that we need to do a band for the shorts, and often it is the exact same way that I do for all the shorts and skirts and pants. So I start by doing a slip knot like that. So if you didn't see what I did, I just loop it around my thumb like that, slip it out, and then just bring that in like this, and then I pull. And this is flexible. You can make this wider, you can make it smaller. I leave a tail like this to join our band, and then I just start by doing a chain of 11, which is also something that I do for almost all of my projects. The band is always the same width, so I always do a chain of 11. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. Okay, so that's the width of my band here. We skip that 11th chain, and in the 10th we go in and grab the back loop and complete a single crochet, and then we go into the next, grab the back loop and complete a single crochet. I did this chain here a little bit smaller so it wasn't easy to grab it here, but there you go. And then I just do this all until I get to the end, and of course you end up with 10 stitches, and these will be 10 stitches you work with for the rest of the band. Okay, so I will show you how to do this and how to start the next row, and then I will have you guys build up your band. So nothing too complicated. Now I'm going to the back of the chain so that I have my work staying neat on both ends. And I will show you just quickly here what I'm talking about when I say neat on both ends. And again, if you don't like to do your work like this, you could just go through by doing the single crochets the normal way, or the way that you just grab the front loop. So if you see this here, we have these V stitches on this side here, and if you flip on the other side, it's the exact same. Okay, so that's why I like that, the way that it looks like that. Okay, so for row 2 I chain 1 and I turn, and then I go ahead and complete back loop single crochets from this point on, and I just grab the back loop and do a single crochet. Okay, so again you need to have 10 stitches here, and you should be working with 10 stitches throughout. If you don't have faith that you have maintained the stitches, you can always, after a few rows, count to make sure that you have not lost a stitch somehow, or you have not somehow increased by accident and gained stitches. Okay, and it can happen accidentally. I've done this where I have worked for quite a while and realized that halfway through I lost a stitch, and it started to narrow my band. My band was starting to get really narrow on one side, and obviously you don't want that, because then you have to undo your work to start over. So this is the end of my second row, and for the final stitch I go through both loops. Again, something that I do, that is a preference. You don't have to do this. And then for row 3, you chain 1 and turn, and then that's it. You just continue to do this until you have what you need. And what you need is a band that is going to be very comfortable coming up up your hips. So mostly the hips, because we often end up having wider hips. You want to make sure you can pull your shorts up from the bottom, and they will have an ease coming up, and you don't have to squeeze it too hard, too much, or yeah, you just want them to be able to slide up easily. And so what I often do is I measure the widest part of my hips, like this is circumference, and then I do the band here that is going to wrap around the widest part of my hips very easily when I stretch it. Okay, so you have to be able to stretch it, and the maximum you can stretch, you have to be able to loop it around your hips like this. And when that's established, when you have gotten that, then you come back to the video. So I'm going to continue to work on my band here. It's going to continue to grow like that. And when I finish, I will come back, okay? So don't forget, you have 10 stitches. You have to do a chain 1 at the beginning, which does not count as a stitch, and then do back loop single crochets, and then repeat these over and over and over and over. All right, so I will see you guys when you have what you need for your size, and when I have what I need for my size. Okay, my lovelies, I've gone ahead and completed what I need here for my band, so it's quite long. I ended up doing 45 of these boxes here, which is 90 rows, okay? And I say 45 because these are easy to count as these lumps here, because each of these lumps here counts as 2 rows. So I did 45 of this, and which is 90 rows altogether. And I think I will stop here. For those of you who know me, I have always done about 100 often. I do about 100, which means 50 of these. And often I end up having to use a drawstring to make sure it's gonna come tight on the waist, because I have a smaller waistline than my hips. But I think if I do it smaller like this, it makes it so that I don't have to use a drawstring at all if I don't need to, if I don't want to. And so 45, which is 90 instead of 100 rows, is much better. I loop this, if I really stretched it, if I loop it around my hips, the widest part of my hips, it goes and just kind of fits, like I'm able to hold it like this on one end, and the rest of it goes around, like it goes around my body like this. So I think that's good. It's going to require a little bit of having to squeeze it up a little bit, but then it means this will fit my waist a little bit more comfortable than it being really loose and having to use a drawstring. Anyways, a lot of information there that you may not care for. So what I will do here is I will go ahead and join my work here, and then I will go ahead and start the next row. So this is one thing that I did. So I actually ended up having to start my stitches here because exactly what I told you guys not to do. Around this area here, I ended up picking up a stitch somehow. I think I ended up doing 2 single crochets in the same stitch, and then my work started to grow wide, and I was like, what is going on here? Like, I don't understand. And then of course it turned out that around 10 rows, I had increased one of them, and then it started kind of make it a little bit bubbly as it went this way, and I was like, oh no, I need to undo it, and I did, and then I undid that. So, and as you can see here, because I restarted and I kind of rushed through it really quickly, I forgot to leave my chain here hanging long, or the string hanging long, for me to be able to join my band. But that's not a problem at all. You could just do this, where you just cut off some of the yarn, put it in a darning needle, and then you join your work. So it's not a big deal at all. So that's where we are here. So I have my work, I just join it like this, just like we would have done from the beginning. And then from here, I'm just gonna go ahead and join my work like that, okay? I don't like to join my work with a slip stitch or with just using my hook, because I find that here ends up being a little bit bulky, so it's not my preference. I don't like to do it like that. So I just end up cutting some of the yarn and then being able to use my darning needle to join it. So what I do is I just go into the first stitch here. I grab the first stitch here, and I grab the first stitch on the other side. I bring it through. Okay, and then I will do a knot here to secure my end so that it doesn't slip off. And then I will go ahead and just join it the way I usually do it. So which is grabbing one of these loops on this side. In this case is the inside one, or the one furthest from me. And then on the other side is also the one furthest from me, okay? So that's how I do it, and then I just pull it. And by the way, there's different variations on how you can do this. You can do it so that it's this and the inside one, or you can do this and it's outside one, or vice versa, or you can go through both loops. It doesn't make a big difference. I just like to do it like this because I find that the results for me is that it looks just like these stitches here if I do it like this. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of join my work here all the way until I get to the end. So because you have 10 stitches, you are lining each stitch on one side directly with the other one on the other side. So at the end of it, you don't have one less stitch hanging or not partnered up, or vice versa, or like one stitch not is left on its own. So okay, so as you can see here, I just did my second last stitch here. So now I have the last one, and I just go through both loops of that first and then the first on the other side. Just like the way we did it at the beginning here, I finish it the same way, where I go through both loops on that side as well. So and then I do it one more time. I bring my hook around, my yarn around, and this counts kind of like it's a slip stitch, as if I did a slip stitch here, okay, or a slip knot I should say. So this is how it looks like, and that's the result I'm looking to do when I do it with the technique that I'm using. Okay, so for these, I'm just gonna cut the yarn somewhere here. We don't need to keep it hanging. And then I'm gonna go ahead and start working on the rest of the project here, okay? So I do have my working yarn still connected here, okay? And I'm gonna bring that through. And now I'm gonna go back to my hook, obviously, the same hook that we've been using. And I'm gonna go here and do a chain of 2, okay? And then now I'm gonna work my double crochets around, okay? So so as you can see, this seems like it's in this valley here, the chain 2, which counts as a double crochet, which counts as a stitch. And then I'm gonna go into the next one, which is on top of this protruding area here, and I will complete a double crochet. I will go into the valley and do a double crochet, and into the protruding part and do a double crochet, okay? So I'm just alternating, and what I do here is I alternate it in such way that at the end I'm gonna end up having so I had 90 stitches. At the end of it, I will be able to have 90 rows. Sorry, I had 90 rows to do the band, and at the end of it I should be able to have 90 stitches. Sometimes it's about 91, because what happens is here where you sewed, it kind of created 2 sides together, and then there's that gap in the middle that you have to do a stitch into, because otherwise it looks like there's too much of a gap there before you slip stitch to join the sides. But anyways, so I just do my double crochets around the band all the way until I come back to where we started off here. So go do the same when you have completed your round around like this and gone back here. Come back to the video and I will show you how to start a second row, and which will be a repeat row for majority part of our shorts, okay? So go ahead and do that, and I will see you guys in a bit. Okay, my lovelies, so I have completed my double crochet rows here. So as you can see, I'm right back at the beginning. Now I did just stop and counted my stitches, and right to where I stop here I have 90 stitches, okay? So, and like I said, this here is gonna just kind of create a row by default because we joined 2 sides together. So it's gonna be 91 stitches when I go here, but I don't like to have that odd number, that 91 instead of 90 or 92. So what I will do is I will go into here twice to be able, or just like go into here and then go into this random spot right in the middle here and complete a second double crochet. So now I have 92 double crochets all together. I prefer that because I like to work with even numbers as opposed to odd numbers. And also because it's shorts, we want to be able to have, when we divide it to do the middle, to create the leg holes, we want to be able to have even number of rows on each side. So now I have just kind of put these 2 stitches here so that I have 92 as opposed to 90. And then I'm gonna go ahead and slip stitch on top of this chain 2 that we created to start the row, and just slip stitch like that. So now this is how that end looks like, okay? All right. But if you're doing this, for example, for a skirt, and you just want a skirt that goes all the way down, or a short skirt or things like that, it doesn't matter to have the even numbers. You could have an odd number of stitches here. All right, so for row 2, I'm going to do a chain of 2 and turn. And as I turn, I flip my work to make it easy to work with. and then I'm going to do a double crochet on top of every single double crochet around. Okay, so this is gonna be the easy part, because all you have to do is just do double crochets all around. When you get back to here, you should be able to do your last one actually right inside here, because, oh, one second, I'm gonna use my, okay, so if you pull your work apart like this, okay, you will see that this stitch here is lining up with this chain 2 like this. So this stitch here, you need to put something in it, because if you do a double crochet here, this stitch is hanging without one, so you need to go into here to do a double crochet as well, and then slip stitch right here, and then chain 2 and turn. So don't forget that, because a lot of people have made that mistake of doing this thinking this is connected to this, but this is actually connected to this here. This is connected to this. Okay, so just a correction there, or like a little bit of information there, so that you don't end up reducing your stitches to 91 all of a sudden from 92, and then you will be surprised what happened. And keep in mind, if you keep doing that here, you will keep reducing your stitch by 1 every row that you do, and you don't want that. And before you know it, you're making a hat instead of a instead of a skirt or shorts or pants or whatever the case is. All right, so go ahead and complete this. I'm gonna talk a little bit about increasing if you are looking to increase, which I will, because I have way wider hips than my waist side, my waist. And even though this comes around my hips very easily, this part here can still be a little bit tight, because the stitches are no longer this stretchy part here. The stitches are now going downwards like this, which makes it easy to stretch. So often, if you have this section here that is really stretchy, and you do either half double crochets or double crochets, you will find that it seems like this is getting tighter here, but it's just because you don't have as much of a stretch in this section as you would in this section here. Okay, so what I do, because of the size of my hips, I will increase. So I'll just quickly tell you guys, the waist here for me, the waist of my band here, or just my waist in general, is 32 inches, and then my hips are 38, sometimes 40 inches. So you can see there's a huge difference there that I need to incorporate to make sure that this will come up my, my bottom very easily. So to do that, I often increase for a few rows after I do a couple of rows. So for example, what I will do with this, I will work for 4 rows of the just regular double crochet, no increases, no anything. And then, because it will take me from kind of like my belly button to where my hips start to open up, and then that's where I want it to start to get wider. So after 4 rows, I will start to increase. And the way I increase is I do 4 sections of increase per row. And the way I do the increases is I just take my the number of stitches that I have, I divide it by 4, and then I see how many I have to do before I get to that number. So for example, I would do 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14, and in the 15th I would increase. So let's say that was the case. Okay, I would increase here by putting 2 double crochets into the same stitch, and then I will go 1 2, and I will go for 15, and then on the 15th I will do an increase. Then I will go ahead and start again 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14. On the 15th I increase, and increases are always where we put 2 stitches in the same stitch. Okay, we put 2 of double crochet in the same stitch, 2 of half double crochet in the same stitch, 2 of something into the same stitch. Okay, so I will do that often. The way I do it is, let's say this is my increase row here. The next row that I do, I don't increase at all. I just do a normal row around. And then for the next stitch after that, I do a row of increase, and I use the same logic. I just go, okay, increase last time 4 times, which means I went from 92 to 96. Okay, so now 96, if I increase in 4 different spots, I divide that by 4, and then I continue like that. And then the next row, I don't increase. And then another row, I increase. And the next row, I don't increase. And I do that until I feel like the openness of it here, or the increase, is wide enough to fit over the widest part of my hips, if I stretch it a little bit, obviously. Okay, so with that explanation, go ahead and work on this, and you're gonna work on it until you have your leg opening for the shorts. So what you will do is you will put your shorts down like this, or whatever you have so far, and then you will measure how long you want it to go, all the way from the highest part you want your pants to go, or your shorts, to where your legs open up. Okay, so for example, and you include the band. I want my band to cover my belly button, so which means my belly button will be kind of somewhere here, and this kind of covers it. So what I will do is I will put this against my body all the way to my leg opening, and then I go, okay, I need to do 10 inches. So then I go, okay, I already have 2.5 inches here. I will need to do the other remaining to 10 and for me to stop. Okay, so that's how you will measure how long to do your rows for before the opening of your leg. And if you don't want it to cover your belly button, just measure it from wherever you want it to land. Where do you want your band to land? Measure it from there, and then do the number of rows that correspond to those number of inches. And then when you have that completed, come back to the video. I will do the same. And don't forget, if you need to increase, you need to increase. And if you don't need to increase, don't increase. And you don't have to increase every four, like in 4 spots in the row that you increase. You can do it once, you can do it twice, 3 times, you can do it as many times as you want. Just the more times you increase in the same row, the more it's gonna go like this really fast. So I increase gradually because I want it to kind of still maintain its shape and not go like this. It's gonna just kind of increase a little bit like this. Okay, so with that explanation, go ahead and work until it has you reach the opening of your legs, and then come back to the video. Okay, my lovelies, so I have gone ahead and did the number of rows that I need here. More importantly, the number of inches that I need here. So I did about 24 rows from the band all the way down, and this is 24 rows. Okay, in terms of inches, it's a little bit higher than I wanted. I wanted to be 10 inches, but it's 11 inches, or a little bit over 11 inches, but I don't mind to have that long because it's not going to make too much of a difference. So I actually have 11.5 inches here when I measure it like that. Okay, so it's give and take usually in terms of measurements. As long as it's not too short, that's fine. As long as it's not 8 as opposed to 10, but the fact that it's 1.5 inch longer than I wanted to, it just means it's going to be a little bit more higher in terms of the size. Okay, so in terms of how far it goes up your body. Okay, so in terms of increases, I'm just going to talk to you guys quickly about how I increased. So I increased in 4 spots, just kind of like how I explained it to you guys. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. And then in the 5th row, I did an increase after, I think, 15, 16 stitches 4 times. So I had 4 increases in the same row. And then I did number 6 without any increases. In number 7, I did the same thing. I increased in 4 spots, but I just alternated it based on how many stitches total I had by this point. And then I did row 8 without any increases. In row 9, I increased, and then that was it. Oh, no, and then, sorry. So I increased here, and then in row 10, I didn't increase. In row 11, I did. So I increased in 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. 4 rows like this, I increased, okay? And that is what I did, and every time I increased in 4 spots. So which means then I had 4 extra stitches after every other row. I was increasing by 4 stitches, okay? And I did that 4 times. All right, the other thing that I did here, after I finished my final row here, I slip stitched, and as you can see, I still have it attached to my yarn, which, by the way, I will just cut it off now. I'll cut it off somewhere here. I will do a slip stitch and lock that in. Okay, and so after I finished that here, I counted my stitches all around, and I had 108. So all of my stitches here, because I had increases, I have 108 from the 92 that we started with. And then I did take that 108, I divided by 2, I got 54. And then I decided to count 54 stitches on this side and 54 stitches on this side. So I have these on each of the sides here. So because I have 54, actually it's more like I have 53 on the 54th, I have a stitch. 53 on the 54th, I have a stitch marker. Sorry, so I marked on the 54th spot on each of the sides here. All right, so with that done, this is where I'm gonna be working my leg. So I'm gonna divide my legs. This is gonna be one leg here, this is gonna be the other leg here. So now we're going to determine how we do the legs, which means it's gonna determine how many chains we do here. So what you will do is from the stitch marker to the end here, you're going to measure that. So I'm just prepping my, okay. So you take it like this and you measure all the way to the middle of where the stitch marker is. So if you look at it, it just comes to about 8 inches, okay? So this is 8 inches on one side, which means the other side is 8 inches, which gives us 16 inches altogether. And so you're going to measure the widest part of your leg and you're going to determine what you need at that moment, okay? So for example, for me, if I want my work to be a little bit loose, I need about 22 inches. So I have 16 here already. I need to get to 22 and I already have this. So I need to increase it like that by that much, okay? So what I will do then is I am going to do a chain of about, let's say 10 to 15. Let me just remove one. So I'll actually show you how to go in right away. So I'm gonna remove that stitch marker and put my hook right here. I'm gonna prep my yarn, okay? I'm gonna prep my yarn and then I will just put it through and then I will show you guys how to do that section. So I will do my slip stitch like this. I'm gonna go into that stitch. I'm gonna bring this through like that. And then I'm gonna start by a minimum of 10 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so this is what I have here, and if I connect it to the other side, it means my leg increases by that like this. Okay, and the 24 that I was showing was if I wanted to be loose and fitting. Okay, sorry, loose but not too tight on my leg. So I'm gonna add 2 more, so 1, 2, so I have 12 inches now, 12 chains as opposed to 10. I'm just gonna quickly measure that, and keep in mind when you work your double crochets into the chains, it gets wider. So far I have 4 inches like this. So if I take these 4 inches, I add to the 16 that I have here, I already have 20, and I need to get to about 22, I think. Is that what I said? About 20, 21, 22. So what I will do is I will stick with these 12 inches here, like 12 stitches here. And then what I will do is I will go into the other side. I will remove my stitch marker on the other side. Okay. And I will go into that where the stitch marker was, and I'll bring the loop back and slip stitch. Okay. So now I have this here is gonna be the one of my leg opening, which is quite big. And then what I will do is I'll pivot my work like this. And now I'm going to start working my double crochets on this side, because we slip stitch here, which means we would have turned and started working this way. Let me see, where were we here? Slip stitch. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and start working my stitches this side here like this, because I would have had to turn on the other side. So I am going to start by doing a slip stitch in this next stitch right here, and then I'm going to do a chain of 2, and then I'm going to go into the next stitch and do a double crochet. So this chain 2 obviously counts as a double crochet, and then I'm gonna go into the next stitch and do a double crochet, and into the next stitch do a double crochet, and I'm gonna do these all around until I come to where the chain start, because we need to work across the chain as well. And by the way, I need to figure out exactly where, if this is the right side for me to work or the other way. I have a feeling it's the other way because I finished. I'm gonna undo this just to check, because it's important to know what direction we need to start our rows with. So I need to make sure I'm actually going the right direction. And this is for me just a little bit of a sticky, or like a little bit of a, let me just undo this. Okay, so this is where my rows were coming from. They were coming from this direction. So my rows were coming from this direction like this, which means I would have chained 2, turn, and work the other direction. So I'm gonna just go back and do my slip stitch here. Let's put that back here. So it means I would have worked my way back that way, which means I undo this. Sorry about that. And then I go back the other direction. So I actually would like to work this direction instead, because this is, I would have had to come back around like this. So I'm gonna actually pivot my work like this, and I'm gonna go and slip stitch on the other side like this, okay? And then there's where I do my chain 2, and then I go ahead and do my double crochet here, my double crochet here, and then pretty much go around, okay? So I'll go around, do my double crochets all the way until I come back to the base of the chains here. And when it comes to this section here, you have stitches you will just work into. So there's a stitch here to work into to do your double crochet, a stitch right here, and then a stitch right here to go with this, and then a stitch right here, and then you just continue like that. But go all around like this. When you get back to the base of the chain, come back so I can show you how to work across the chains, okay? See you guys in a bit. Okay, my lovelies, so I have worked my double crochet stitches around the leg hole here. So as you can see, if you put it flat down, we pretty much started here and I went around like this, and now we're at the base of where the chain started. And as you can see, I put a stitch right there. This is it here, okay? And then now we have to work across our chains. So all you have to do is just hold your chain straight so that it's the flat side is facing you and the non-flat side is facing away from you. And so this is where you will have to go into this stitch one more time and do another double crochet there. The reason for this is so that you're closer to the first stitch here, because if you go straight from here to here, this is going to leave a big gap. For example, if I go from here to working into this first stitch here, it leaves a little bit of a big gap like that. So what I do is I just go into this stitch one more time like that. It does create an increase a little bit here, but it's not too much, just by one stitch. And then you're going to go right into the very first chain here and complete your first double crochet. And then you're going to go into the next right here. And it's going to be tricky because the chain have kind of pulled and tightened up as we were working on it, but that's not a problem. But you just have to take your time and just go ahead and work above this. Just grab the chain and work your double crochets through. And as you see here, I'm not grabbing the back loop of the double crochet. The reason being is it's going to be a little bit more complicated and very tight, so it's going to give you a hard time going into every stitch. So I just grab a loop like this, and then on the other side we'll grab the other loop, okay? And like this, it makes it easy to go across the chain. If you have a good eye for picking up the back loop, go ahead and do it in the back loops of your chain. But if you just kind of want to make it easy and simple, just work it like this. It doesn't make too much of a big difference. Okay, so I just go, and as you can see, even though your chains are tight, they're also a little bit loose. And we're gonna go into, not that one again, but we're gonna go into this one here. Let's go into here like this, like that. Okay, and then when I finish this, I'm gonna go, there's one that is stuck in the middle here. It's a very tight spot. So you're gonna need to just kind of wiggle yourself to get through into that stitch. If you can, like that, and bring your final double crochet in like this. And because we're working on this side, you just have to pivot your work like this. And then you have this stitch here, which is the chain 2 that we started the row with. If you go and slip stitch here, it's the same idea as the other side. If you slip stitch here, you have this gap like this, and we don't want that. So then what I do on this side is I do another double crochet inside of that chain 2 as well, just like we did on this side here. And then when I slip stitch, it's gonna close that gap like this, okay? And then I'm going to chain my 2, do my 2 chains, which counts as a double crochet, and then work myself backwards again. So I just do my double crochets around, and I go back this way, okay? So now it's a little bit easier from this point on, because all you're doing now is just working your double crochets around here, and then when you slip stitch here, you chain 2, turn, work yourself back like that, and you're gonna do this until you have what you need for your length of your shorts. Okay, and with this you can make it so that it's only 2 or 3 rows and it's more like a booty shorts, or you can do it so that it's a little bit longer and it's more like, you know, cover more of your leg, things like that. Okay, so go ahead and just work your double crochets until you have the number of rows that you need to cover, how long you want them, and then come back to the video and I will show you how to do one final thing with the legs, and then we will move our hook and yarn to the other side and do the same as what we do on this side. Okay, so I will see you guys when you have completed this one side of your shorts. Okay, my lovelies, so I have worked the length of the leg here for my shorts that I want. So as you can see, if I put it down like this, you will see that I've completed the leg, one of the leg sides like this, and now I have to do this other one. And also I did 10 rows for the leg here, and the reason I did 10 is because I want my shorts to go a little bit lower than some of the shorts that I've done before, so they're not gonna particularly be booty shorts. So for example, I usually would do 3 to 4 rows for booty shorts, and I did 10 rows for this, which means it's gonna go down half of my thigh. Okay, so if that is what you're looking for, then you do that. If you actually want this to be a little bit longer of shorts, then you would continue to make your rows go up. But if you want them to be booty shorts, then you would have done at least minimum half of this. Okay, so now that I've finished my 10th row here, I'm going to slip stitch on top of that, just like we usually do, and I'm going to do a border for my shorts here. So what I will do is then I will do a chain of 3, okay, and I will turn my work, and this chain of 3 is actually 2 chains count as a double crochet plus a chain 1, because I'm going to do a row of a mesh here, and then we will do some of scallops kind of around the bottom. So I'm going to skip this stitch here, and in this next stitch I'm going to do a double crochet. Then I'm going to chain 1, skip this stitch, in that stitch do a double crochet, chain 1, skip that stitch, in the next stitch do a double crochet. So this is the part where we create the mesh first, but go ahead and do your mesh around the circumference here, and then when you get to the other side, come back to the video. When you get to this end here, come back to the video, we will connect it to that, and then we'll start the part that we do the scallops. Okay, so I will see you guys in a bit. Okay, my lovelies, so I've just completed my double crochets meshes around the leg part here, and as you can see, I have just this stitch to go, so I just do a chain 1, and because this is the stitch that I would skip, then I just go directly to the top of the chain 2. So I have 1, 2, so on top of that chain 2 I will go ahead and do a slip stitch like this. Okay, so that completes this section here, and if I put it down, so far it looks something like that with just the meshes going across like this, but we're gonna do the shells or the scallops here. So what I will do is I will do a chain of 2, and in this stitch right here I'm going to do 4 double crochets, so 3, 4, and the chain 2 counting as a stitch, and then in these 2 stitches here I'm going to do slip stitches. Okay, and then in this here I'm gonna do a chain 2 and complete 2, 3, and 4 double crochets like this. So this is what we're doing in the bottom, and then in this stitch do a slip stitch, and by stitch I'm just mean the chain 1 gaps, so we're not doing anything on top of the double crochet stitches, and then chain 2 and do a total of 4 double crochets into this gap, including the chain 2 which counts as a double crochet, and then slip stitch in the next chain 1 gap and do another slip stitch in the chain 1 gap, chain 2, and then just continue these all around the circumference of the leg here. Okay, so we're just doing this ends here like this, so they look like these little little knobs that hang out like this, like little jewels that are hanging on the bottom of your short pants. Okay, so we're gonna do this all around here, so go ahead and do everything until you get to this space here. When you get to here, come back and I will show you how to complete the end, and then how we're gonna then start the other side of the leg, and then we will repeat the exact same thing that we did on this side. But for now, just come around until you have, let's say, finish your last scallop on this side. Okay, my lovelies, so I have completed the bordering in the bottom of my shorts here. So as you can see, this is how it looks like for the bottom. Okay, and so I have 2 stitches to go here. So I've done my 4 double crochets here. So then I'll just go into the next gap here and do my slip stitch, and do a slip stitch in the next as well. But I will go on and actually slip stitch on top of that, the double crochet that we created, which was the chain 2. Okay, so just like this, and then I'll go ahead and cut my yarn right here, and that completes this side. So I will do a chain 1 and pull to lock that in like this. Okay, so now I'm going to just kind of place my shorts down like this. So as you can see, this is how one of them looks like. So that's completed. I will weave in any of the strings that are hanging at a later time. So now all you will have to do is go ahead and find the right side to start working your other crochets. And what you will do is, when you connect your yarn wherever you need to connect it to work the other way, you're gonna pretty much just go around here and make sure you do exactly what we did for the first leg here. I'll probably connect mine right here, and just go around like this, go over the chain 12 that we did here, and as you can see, you have stitches to work into. Just go over into the stitches here and complete that and go around, and then when you get back to where you started, you slip stitch and you chain 2, turn around and do that, and then you will do your 10 rows here to match the first side, or however many rows that you completed. And then at the end, just do the border of it in the bottom like this. And then when you have the second side completed, then come back to the video. I will weave in all of my ends, but we'll just come back to see how they look like at the end. Okay, see you guys then. Okay, my lovelies, so I have gone ahead and completed my shorts here. So as you can see, I have completed both the bordering for the 2 legs here, and this is pretty much how it looks like. So everything is done. These are obviously high waisted shorts, so as you can see, makes it look nice and wide. And yeah, this is pretty much it. I've already weaved in all of my ends, so I have absolutely nothing else to do. It's just a matter of putting it on and I'm good to go. All right, well, this is pretty much the end of the video here. Thank you so much for watching to the end. If you have not yet subscribed, please go ahead and do so. Make sure you like, comment, and share as well. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.